And what is your idea or understanding of balance?
That's so funny because that's like the number one topic that is in my brain at all times, balance. The yin and yang, balance, whatever you want to call it, positive, negative energy, you have to have both. You can't enjoy the good unless you recognize the bad. You can't get through the bad unless you recognize the good. So to me, balance is everything in life. Almost is what drives me every minute, is something related to balance.
Grief. How do you describe the experience of grief?
Grief, I think it's different for everybody. Some people, grief rolls off their back like a water off a duck's back. Some people get mired in their grief like it's mud and they can never move on from it. I think for me, grief is a process of understanding that people come and go, that good times come and go, bad times come and go, right? Grief is just one facet. It's not everything. It's not the end. It's not a place we're supposed to stay in. It's just process. And for everybody, it's different. For me, grief is one thing, and for you, it's a different thing. And so to understand that grief is a process and not a place is the most important thing.
So you wrote the book, Cycle of Lives. 15 people's stories, 5,000 miles, and a journey through the emotional chaos of cancer. What was the inspiration and the intention of writing this book?
Well, the inspiration was from my sister when she passed away from brain cancer. I wanted to keep her memory alive and stay close to her in the way that I could. I would do like a endurance event every year in her honor and raise money for the cancer center that took care of her and whatever. That was the inspiration. What I was trying to accomplish is I found when I was doing this, Valeria, that people were good about talking about the tasks of cancer. I get my next PET scan? What hospital should I go to? What doctor should I see? How do I navigate work? Those kind of things. But what we're not equipped to do was to have the hard discussions about the emotional side of cancer. A perfect example is people don't want to burden you. They don't want to make you feel guilty. They don't want to feel bad. They don't want your sympathy. There's a lot of reasons they don't talk about it. And sometimes when somebody tells us something bad, we go, oh, I'm sorry, and then walk away because we don't want to make them feel bad. We don't want to make them feel guilty. We don't know what to say. We don't want to sound like an idiot. And so the emotional side of it is something that every single person I spoke to said that was the number one major issue about the cancer experience, no matter what perspective, caregiver, loved one, survivor, even doctors. The number one thing every single one of them said was, I had difficulty navigating the emotional side of it. And so that's what the purpose is to bring these stories to people so that they can learn perhaps how to better understand what people have gone through or are going through. And that would allow us to start these hard conversations to get closer to and better understand the people that are around us and that we care about. When I wrote the book, I had people that had all kinds of emotional reaction to cancer. If you can imagine, Valeria, I even had somebody who smiled when they were given a diagnosis that they were being wheeled into emergency brain surgery to remove a tumor. She smiled and said, thank God it's a tumor and not me. She thought she was going crazy. So I think the important thing to recognize about the trauma of cancer, especially of cancer, is that people just don't know how to start to begin to talk about the emotional side of it. And that's the common theme. So we have to figure out a way to be brave enough to navigate that with people, which puts us out on a limb and ask them to be put out on a limb about something that's very, very difficult to experience.
How did you deal with that? With your emotions? How did you communicate them?
I didn't. So I was kind of like everybody else, right? I just, whatever, I'm fine. Or somebody would ask me a question and I'd give them an answer that would make them not ask me a second question because I didn't want to deal with the emotional side of it. So because I thought maybe people didn't care, or I thought maybe it wasn't important enough, or I was embarrassed that I felt, whatever the reason at the time was, it was the same thing. And until I felt comfortable that if people are going to ask, even if they ask the wrong question, they're showing that they care. And I think that's all we really want, is a safe place to know that people care. And then we can start to figure out how to answer the questions. And so I learned how to talk about the emotional side of it and how I was affected by losing my sister and all the other things that came with it, only because then I felt safe that I could talk to people who were actually interested in finding out more.
And my last question is, what are 3 things about life you know for sure as of this moment?
No matter how dark it is, I have a friend who says even the darkest cave can be illuminated by one candle, and even the dirtiest pond can grow a lily, right? So I'd say that no matter how bad things are, one thing is I know for sure is that tomorrow's another day. 5 minutes from now is another minute. So if you keep moving forward, you could get a better place. So just keep moving forward. So that's one thing I know. Second thing I know for sure is that we don't get the moments back. When you can, do the best you can do for yourself and for others, because you don't get a chance to do that same minute ever again. And the third thing I would tell you that I know for sure, this took a long time to learn, and probably through the process of this book I learned, is that people do care. You might not always believe it. You might not always have them around you. You might not always know how to let them in, but if you give a chance, even just one person out there does care about you. And so it's on you, it's on me, it's on us to allow people to care. They want to, and they do.